It's August 17th, 1942, 0300 hours. 211 miles south of the equator, two American submarines, USS Nautilus and USS Argonaut, surface in the darkness off Makin Atoll in the Gilbert Islands. Lieutenant Colonel Evans Carlson stands on the deck of the Nautilus, watching 221 Marines of the 2nd Marine Raider Battalion load into rubber boats. They're about to conduct the first Marine Corps offensive raid in the Pacific War. 9 months after Pearl Harbor, America is still reeling. The Navy lost battleships. The Philippines fell. Wake Island fell. Guam fell. The Japanese control everything from the Solomon Islands to the Aleutians. Then in June, the Navy won at Midway, sank 4 Japanese carriers, and shifted the momentum. But the Marine Corps hasn't gone on offense yet. Not once. Every battle so far has been defensive, desperate, and costly. Carlson's mission is simple on paper. Hit the Japanese garrison on Makin, destroy installations, gather intelligence, and get out before reinforcements arrive. 2 submarines, 221 raiders, no air support, no naval gunfire, no backup. If something goes wrong, there's no cavalry coming over the hill. The submarines will wait exactly 12 hours, then leave, with or without the raiders aboard. The Marines climbing into those rubber boats aren't regular infantry. Carlson spent the past 6 months turning them into something the Corps had never seen before. He handpicked every man. Physical fitness standards that made boot camp look easy. Advanced weapons training, small unit tactics, navigation, demolitions, silent killing techniques. Most importantly, Carlson drilled into them a Chinese phrase he learned while observing Mao's communist guerrillas in 1937. Gung Ho. Work together. This wasn't just a slogan. Carlson restructured the entire chain of command. Officers and enlisted men ate together, discussed tactics together, made decisions together. The Marine Corps brass thought he was crazy. Traditional military hierarchy didn't work like that. But Carlson wasn't interested in tradition. He was interested in what worked. And in the jungles of China, he'd seen guerrilla tactics destroy conventional forces through speed, surprise, and initiative at every level. His executive officer, Major James Roosevelt, the president's son, is in one of those rubber boats. That's not an accident. FDR wanted his son in combat. Carlson wanted the political protection Roosevelt's name would provide for his unorthodox methods. It's a partnership that works. The rubber boats start paddling toward Makin's beach. 7 miles of open ocean. Pitch black. Swells running 4 to 5 feet. These boats were designed for rivers, not the Pacific. Water splashes over the sides. Equipment gets soaked. One boat's outboard motor dies. The Marines paddle by hand, arms burning, racing against sunrise. At 05:15 hours, the lead boats hit the beach. 30 minutes before dawn. The raiders scramble ashore, weapons ready. The island is silent. Palm trees rustle in the breeze. Somewhere in the darkness, 43 Japanese soldiers are about to discover that the war just came to them. What happens in the next 14 hours will prove whether Carlson's experimental unit is genius or suicide. The Marine Corps is watching. The Navy is watching. Washington is watching. And 12 hours from now, those submarines are leaving whether the raiders make it back or not. Before we dive deeper, real quick, drop a comment and let me know where you're watching from. City, state, country, doesn't matter where you are. And what time is it for you right now? Always cool to see how far this reaches. All right, let's get into it. The Makin Atoll raid goes sideways within the first hour. At 6:30 hours, raiders spot 2 Japanese trucks moving along the island's single road. Carlson gives the order. Open fire. The Marines cut down both vehicles with Thompson submachine guns and bars. First blood. But the gunfire alerts the entire Japanese garrison. So much for surprise. Then the real problem hits. The radios don't work. Saltwater soaked the equipment during the boat landing. Carlson can't communicate with his scattered squads across the 2-mile island. He can't contact the submarines offshore. The plan called for coordinated strikes on the Japanese command post, radio station, and supply depot. Instead, it's small groups of raiders fighting independent actions with zero coordination. By Oro 700 hours, Japanese snipers are picking off Marines from palm trees. The raiders shoot back, but the enemy knows this island. They know every concealment, every firing position, every escape route. The Americans are stumbling through unfamiliar terrain, getting shot at from positions they can't see. At 0730, 2 Japanese seaplanes appear overhead. Kawanishi H-6K flying boats, each carrying 1,000 pounds of bombs. They strafe the beach where the raiders left their rubber boats. Bullets punch through the thin rubber. 12 boats destroyed. 12 boats the Marines need to get back to the submarines. The planes circle, searching for more targets. Major Roosevelt's group fights their way to the Japanese command post. They kill the garrison commander, Lieutenant Shizo Ishikawa, and 17 of his men. But Japanese reinforcements are already heading to Makin. The seaplanes radioed for help before the raiders could destroy the radio station. More planes are coming. Maybe surface ships, maybe submarines. The 12-hour deadline suddenly feels very short. The biggest problem isn't the Japanese garrison. It's getting off the island. By 1300 hours, the raiders have consolidated near the beach. They've killed roughly 30 Japanese soldiers and destroyed the garrison's installations. Mission accomplished. But they have 9 rubber boats left for 221 men. The math doesn't work. And the surf has picked up. Waves running 6 to 8 feet. Boats flip in the breakers. Marines get swept out to sea. The submarines can't come closer to shore without grounding. 3 times the raiders try to paddle through the surf. 3 times boats capsize. Equipment is lost. Men drown. By 1600 hours, only 70 raiders have made it to the submarines. 151 are still on the beach, watching the sun sink toward the horizon. When darkness falls, the Japanese will counterattack. And those submarines are scheduled to leave at 2330 hours. Standard Marine Corps doctrine didn't prepare anyone for this. The pre-war playbook focused on set-piece battles, established lines, naval gunfire support, air cover, and reinforcements. Island raids with no backup and submarine transport? Nobody trained for that. Nobody had tactics for that. The raiders are inventing it as they go, and men are dying because of it. At 1900 hours, Carlson makes the call. The remaining raiders will swim to the submarines. 1 mile of open ocean, in the dark, with Japanese patrols on the beach behind them. 9 Marines drown trying. 30 more give up and return to shore, too exhausted to make it. By midnight, 201 raiders are aboard the submarines. 18 are missing. 9 confirmed dead, 9 still on Makin, hiding from Japanese patrols. The submarines dive and run for Pearl Harbor. The raid killed 46 Japanese soldiers and destroyed significant installations. But it cost 18 Marine lives and exposed every weakness in American amphibious doctrine. The Marine Corps learned what doesn't work. Now they needed to figure out what does. 2 months later, Carlson would get his chance to prove his methods on Guadalcanal. Behind enemy lines, no submarines to rescue him, just his raiders, the jungle, and 30 days to show that guerrilla warfare could work in the Pacific. November 4th, 1942. Guadalcanal. 266 Marines of Carlson's 2nd Raider Battalion land at Aola Bay, 30 miles behind Japanese lines. Their mission: patrol inland, locate enemy positions, disrupt supply lines, and kill as many Japanese soldiers as possible. No time limit, no extraction plan, just move, fight, and survive. This is Carlson's chance to prove everything he learned in China works in the Pacific. The traditional Marine Corps operated on rigid hierarchy. Officers gave orders, enlisted men followed them. period. Questions meant insubordination. Initiative meant overstepping. The chain of command was sacred. But Carlson saw a fundamental problem with this approach. It made small units helpless when separated from command. In China, Carlson observed Mao's Eighth Route Army, communist guerrillas who moved in small, independent cells. Every soldier understood the mission. Every soldier could make tactical decisions. Officers and enlisted men discussed strategy together. The phrase Gung Ho, which literally translates to work together or industrial cooperative, wasn't just philosophy. It was operational doctrine. Carlson brought this to the raiders. Before every patrol, he held Gung Ho meetings. Officers and enlisted men sat in a circle. Anyone could speak. Anyone could suggest tactics. A private could question a captain's plan if he had a better idea. This shocked the Marine Corps brass, but the results spoke for themselves. Each raider squad operated with complete autonomy. They didn't need orders radioed from headquarters. They understood the commander's intent and executed independently. If they encountered the enemy, they attacked immediately. No waiting for permission. If they needed to retreat, they melted into the jungle and regrouped at predetermined rally points. Speed and initiative replaced rigid formations. Carlson also revolutionized weapons loadout. Standard Marine infantry carried M1 Garand rifles, reliable but heavy at 9.5 pounds. The raiders carried lighter M1 carbines weighing 5.2 pounds, plus Thompson submachine guns, bars, and extra ammunition. Every man carried demolition charges. Every man trained as a scout, a medic, and a demolitions expert. Cross-training meant losing one man didn't cripple the squad's capabilities. Physical conditioning went beyond anything the Corps required. Carlson's men ran 10 miles daily in full gear. They practiced night navigation through dense jungle. They learned to move silently. No talking, no smoking, no unnecessary noise. On Guadalcanal, this training became doctrine. The raiders traveled light. 60 pounds of gear maximum. K rations and captured Japanese rice. 1 canteen of water. They'd purify more from streams. No tents, no sleeping bags. They slept on the ground in the rain, stayed constantly wet, developed fungal infections and dysentery, and kept moving. Carlson's navigation technique came straight from Chinese guerrilla tactics. The battalion moved in a diamond formation. Scouts ahead, flankers left and right, headquarters in the center, rear guard behind. When the point squad encountered enemy, they attacked immediately while flankers swept around for enfilade fire. If overwhelmed, they broke contact and vanished into jungle using pre-planned escape routes. Most importantly, Carlson emphasized calculated aggression. The Japanese controlled Guadalcanal's interior. They knew the terrain. They had supply caches and fortified positions. The raiders had speed and surprise. Hit fast, hit hard, disappear before the enemy could organize a counterattack. Never stay in one place more than a few hours. On November 6th, 2 days after landing, Carlson's raiders made first contact with Japanese forces at the Binu River. What happened next would define the long patrol and prove whether his tactics could produce the results America desperately needed. November 6th, 1942. 14:30 hours. Binu River, Guadalcanal. Lead Scout Corporal Howard Young spots movement through the jungle. Japanese soldiers setting up a defensive position along the riverbank. He signals the column to halt. No radio call to headquarters. No waiting for orders. Young's squad deploys immediately. 30 seconds later, the raiders open fire. Thompson submachine guns at 20 yards. The Japanese never get their machine gun operational. 12 enemy soldiers dead in under a minute. The raiders police the bodies for intelligence, maps, documents, orders. Then they disappear back into the jungle before Japanese reinforcements arrive. This becomes the pattern for the next 30 days. November 9th. The raiders hit a Japanese supply column near Recco. The enemy is moving rice, ammunition, and medical supplies to forward positions. Carlson's men let the column enter a narrow trail section, then attack from both flanks simultaneously. Crossfire. The Japanese can't maneuver, can't retreat, can't establish a firing line. 41 enemy soldiers killed, 0 Raider casualties. The Marines burn the supplies and vanish. The Japanese call them ghost raiders. They appear without warning, strike, and disappear before conventional forces can respond. Standard Japanese tactics, banzai charges, fixed defensive positions, don't work against an enemy that refuses to stay and fight. November 11th. Asamana Village. The Raiders encounter their toughest fight of the long patrol. Japanese forces have established a fortified position, machine gun nests, interlocking fields of fire, and approximately 150 soldiers. This isn't a supply column or patrol. It's a dug-in garrison. Carlson doesn't assault head-on. That's what the Japanese expect. Instead, he splits his force. One company demonstrates in front, drawing fire and attention. 2 more companies flank left and right through dense jungle, a 2-hour movement through terrain so thick they're crawling on hands and knees. At 1600 hours, the flanking companies hit the Japanese from the sides and rear simultaneously. The battle lasts 4 hours. Close quarters fighting in jungle so dense you can't see 10 feet. Marines use Thompsons and knives. Japanese soldiers fight with rifles and bayonets. By nightfall, 75 Japanese are dead. The Raiders lose 5 killed, 8 wounded. They hold the position long enough to evacuate their wounded, then withdraw under darkness. Over the next 19 days, the pattern repeats. The Raiders hit Japanese patrols, supply lines, and forward positions across Guadalcanal's interior. They ambush columns at Binu, Reiko, Asamama, Tasimboko. They destroy supply caches, burn ammunition dumps, and kill Japanese soldiers faster than replacements can arrive. The numbers tell the story. November 6th to December 4th, 30 days behind enemy lines. 488 confirmed Japanese killed, 16 Raiders killed in action. That's a 30.5 to 1 kill ratio, unprecedented in Pacific War combat. But the statistics don't show the cost. The surviving Raiders lost an average of 30 pounds each. Malaria infected 70% of the battalion. Dysentery was universal. Jungle rot ate through boot leather and into feet. Men had to cut their boots open because their feet swelled. They moved through kunai grass tall enough to hide a man, where one wrong step meant a Japanese ambush. They fought in rain that never stopped, slept in mud, drank water purified with iodine tablets that made them vomit, ate captured Japanese rice mixed with K rations, went days without resupply because the jungle was too thick for airdrops. December 4th, 1942. The Raiders emerge from the jungle at Lunga Point and return to American lines. 250 survivors, exhausted, emaciated, infected, but victorious. They proved guerrilla warfare works in the Pacific. They proved small unit tactics can devastate conventional forces. They proved Carlson's methods weren't theory. They were doctrine. December 5th, 1942. Lunga Point, Guadalcanal. Doctors examine the Raiders returning from the long patrol. Every man is malnourished. Most have malaria, dysentery, or both. Their uniforms are rotting off their bodies. Their boots are held together with parachute cord. But they accomplished something no American unit had done in the Pacific War. They beat the Japanese at their own game. The immediate impact was psychological. For 9 months, Japanese forces dominated jungle warfare. They moved faster, hit harder, and disappeared into terrain Americans couldn't navigate. The long patrol proved this wasn't Japanese superiority. It was American inexperience. Carlson's Raiders showed that with proper training, tactics, and leadership, American forces could outfight the Japanese in their preferred environment. The 488-8-116 kill ratio sent shockwaves through Marine Corps headquarters. Traditional infantry doctrine produced ratios closer to 3:1 or Force 1, in favorable conditions. Carlson's raiders achieved 30.1 through speed, surprise, and decentralized command. The Marine Corps brass had called his methods unorthodox and dangerous. The results made them doctrine. Within 6 months, the Marine Corps established formal raider training based on Carlson's methods. Physical conditioning standards increased. Small unit tactics became mandatory training. The rigid hierarchy loosened, not completely, but enough to allow squad leaders more tactical autonomy. Most importantly, the Corps embraced the idea that every Marine, regardless of rank, needed to understand the mission and think independently. The phrase Gung Ho entered American military vocabulary. Carlson's philosophy, that officers and enlisted men work together as equals toward a common goal, became fundamental to modern special operations. Today's Marine Force Reconnaissance, Navy SEALs, and Army Special Forces all operate on principles Carlson introduced in 1942. Small teams, decentralized command, cross-training, and initiative at every level. The raiders themselves continued fighting. Carlson led them through the Tarawa invasion in November 1943, where they secured Makin Atoll against minimal resistance. By February 1944, the Marine Corps disbanded the separate raider battalions and folded them into standard infantry regiments. The Corps decided every Marine should be a raider, not just specialized units. Carlson never got another combat command. His unorthodox methods and political connections, he'd observed Chinese communist guerrillas, befriended left-wing intellectuals, and criticized military hierarchy, made him controversial. He retired from the Marines in 1946 and died in 1947 at age 51 from heart complications related to war wounds. But his legacy survived. In 2006, the Marine Corps reactivated the Marine Raider designation. Marine Special Operations Command now fields 3 Marine Raider battalions using tactics directly descended from Carlson's innovations: small teams, decentralized decision-making, cross-training, and the Gung Ho philosophy. The Long Patrol proved something essential about warfare. Technology and firepower matter, but tactics and leadership matter more. The Raiders didn't have better weapons than standard Marine infantry. They didn't have air support or artillery or tanks. They had training, discipline, and a command structure that trusted every man to make decisions under fire. 488 enemy killed, 16 raiders lost, 30 days behind enemy lines with no backup and no extraction plan. Those numbers represent more than a successful raid. They represent a fundamental shift in how America fought the Pacific War. The Japanese learned to fear the jungle at night. They learned that American forces could move silently, strike without warning, and disappear before reinforcements arrived. Most importantly, they learned that the Marines were no longer fighting defensive battles. The Americans had gone on offense, and they weren't stopping until Tokyo burned. Carlson's raiders proved that courage, training, and initiative can overcome numerical disadvantages and hostile terrain. That's not just World War II history. That's the foundation of modern special operations doctrine. That's why we remember them 82 years later, 488 to 16. Do the math.